As can be.
Who's right? Yeah, exactly.
Gretkin,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Shaner,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no interviews and no proclamations, so we'll go right to the consent agenda today, which is items 2 through 11B. Consider them to pass unanimously unless a council member asks for a separate vote. Thank you. If you want to speak on any items, please come up and state your name and address for the record. As I read those items, you want to speak under something at the end of the meeting, come up under citizen concerns. Again, state your name and address. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
2 is reading of the City Council minutes of November 8, 2021. 3 is a resolution rejecting the bids received for the Milwaukee Railroad Shops and Museum Trail Improvement Project.
Matt, will we be, not we, but will they be rebidding this?
Matt Salvatore, Parks and Recreation Director. Yeah, they're going to be removing the lighting from the specifications of that and then rebidding that the next available DOT letting.
I was really fired up for this trail, and I read your.
They are too. It's been a long
I
time
read your
coming.
report, and it was just a setback, wasn't it?
Yep.
But they were that far off between the engines.
Yeah, it's an interesting climate to try to predict pricing right now, so.
But it's
they were-
mainly
they were-
centered on the lighting?
Yeah, they're going to eliminate the lighting and then move forward with the hard surface.
No, it's not centered on the lighting, though. They had to have.
No, there was about 4 bid items that were substantially off on,
Oh,
out of all of them.
oh, okay.
But by eliminating the lighting, they'll be able to get the project back on track and do all the.
Do you worry about that? Will that be a future add-on or something?
They
that
could
we
do
can
it in the future, yeah, once they raise the available funds.
Maybe do some private fundraising or something.
They're going to probably put conduit in the ground and,
That's what I was
Yep.
going to ask, is you better make sure we have power.
yep,
Okay, so we'll see it again then.
yep, hopefully.
Great.
So
Thanks, Matt.
the yes vote rejects it, right?
It's on to be rejected, yes, so you don't have to, yep. 4 is a resolution fixing fees for the Parks and Recreation Department. 5 is a resolution authorizing application for FTA for funding under the grants for buses and bus facility program. 6 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase equipment, automobile liability insurance for fire and rescue EMS division.
Ron Engel, Risk Manager. Quick note on that. The resolution before you is correct. However, in the discussion, the previous policy period was $54,404, and that was a 12% increase.
Well, we're making so much money in that ambulance business, I'm sure that we haven't had a report for a while, but sure, we're still making lots of money. Okay. 7 are actions relating to annual reports. Items 7A through D are motions accepting the annual reports for the Effective Fiscal and Public Policy Committee, Events Facility and Tourism Advisory Board, Gilead Kosovo Sister City Committee, and Parks and Rec Advisory Board. 8 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving a contract to RP Constructors for the 41st Street Storm Sewer Project. B is a resolution approving a contract to MTC Mechanical for the Ho-Chunk to Heritage Parking Ramp Skywalk Upgrades Project. I need to abstain on that items. C is a resolution granting a permit to Fiverr to maintain underground cable in the area of Summit Street and Grandview. D is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with Donahue and Associates for digestion and high-strength waste receiving improvements project. 9 are actions authorizing payments. A is a resolution authorizing payment to KP Construction for the West 3rd Street and Main Street Bus Stop ADA Improvement Project. B is a resolution approving fund transfers for October. C is a motion approving total payments for October. D is a resolution approving change order number 6 and authorizing payment to PWC for the Renewable Fuels Project. I need to abstain on that item. 10 are applications for beer and liquor license. See the list, come forward if you have questions. 11 is receipt of minutes. See the list, come forward if you have questions. Is there anyone to be heard on any of those items? Seeing none, we'll go to or we'll vote, and then we'll go to. Passes 5-0. 12 is a motion appointing Glenn Moore Jr. to the Inclusive Sioux City Advisory Committee. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 13 is a motion appointing Angel Wallace to the Inclusive Sioux City Advisory Committee. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 14 is motion needed to appoint one of the following 5 applicants to the Inclusive Sioux City Advisory Committee to fill the vacant resident at large position. The applicants are Carly Hansen, Sherry Martin, Christine Madden, Letitia O'Kane, and Joe Riker. Anybody have a preference?
I do. They're all good applicants, and they're qualified, so it was really a tough decision on my part, but I would make a motion, Mayor, to appoint Sherry Martin to the Inclusive Sioux City Advisory Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Before we get into it, I didn't know if we had discussion about others, because I too tried looking into the different candidates and really weighing the pros and cons of each, and the only thing I would say on behalf of Carly Hansen is just that I do work with her at Morningside. I agree, I think Sherry's been going to a lot of the events and doing a great job there, so I would be okay with that as well. But I would advocate on behalf of Carly Hansen that as a member of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for Morningside University, I think she's doing a lot of great work on the campus that would translate to the community, and as a woman of color herself. I thought that in itself was kind of a twofold, where I thought, well, she's young, she's a woman of color, and she's representing an entire community at Morningside. So I thought that's where I was just kind of weighing, but I agree with you that I think there are a lot of great options and individuals that want to serve.
Alex, I did the same thing. I went through and pulled out some of the old interviews, and I thought Carly Hansen would be a great addition to the committee because of her experience and perspective. The thing that I really liked is the fact that she's young, it's college age people she deals with, and I think we need some younger people on the committee that will have some good ideas about what we need to do to include everybody and to make it a safer and nicer community. So I think she would be a good candidate. But
because those were the two that I was wrestling with, and so I was just wanted to at least offer that perspective.
Your points are well taken.
So on the motion to appoint Sherry Martin, Moore,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
No.
Greckin.
no.
15 is a hearing and resolution determining an area of the city to be blighted in an economic development area, designating it as an urban renewal project, and adopting amendment number 1 to amended and restated combined Floyd River Urban Renewal Plan property at 601 Cunningham Drive. I'll move that.
Second.
Hearing's now open. Is anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 16 is a hearing and resolution accepting the proposal of the Cathedral of the Epiphany for land in the combined central CBD urban renewal area. I'll move that.
Second.
Hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 17 is a motion authorizing staff to remove traffic signals at Hamilton Boulevard and West 3rd Street. I'll move it to start the discussion.
Dave Carney, Public Works Director. I'd like to introduce Hannah Neal from Simcoe and Mark Tuck from Burns McDonald. They are the sponsor agency, and Mark is with the consultant that did the study.
Thank you, Dave.
Just a minute before we have you guys. I don't understand this whole process. Never have, never will. But why do we turn this over to Simcoe? Why we don't have anybody qualified to do that? Because it seems to me that there were preconceived notions of what intersections, as I've said before, nothing new, but there are preconceived notions of which ones of these should have been shut down. And listen, I like how it flows through now. I still think there's at least one too many stoplights in this corridor. I don't know how you can justify leaving the one up there at the, when you got 4 turnoffs to get into the marketplace. How many you need? But we can't have one at West 3rd. The people have to drive a block and a half around now to get out. It just irritates me that we.
Based on the numbers.
I was going to say, they were all
But where are
held.
those numbers, Dave? I've asked for the numbers, and these guys have them, those numbers supposedly, but again, it's just, it's frustrating because I drive that corridor all the time, and if you took that stoplight out there, guess what? It's not going to function much differently because you have to wait for cars to turn out of that left lane forever anyway. You barely get a couple through when traffic is busy. So people would have turned to McDonald's and gotten the same thing accomplished. Well, I know, nobody's got an answer, but yet we're going to vote on this today. That's what bothers me, but okay, go ahead.
Well, there's some, but Dave, there's some traffic signals, though, Mayor, that I don't think qualified or whatever you called it.
They meet warrants. There's established,
Warrants, yeah.
MUTCD establishes warrants. And
That we couldn't pull,
and-
even if we wanted to.
Well,
No, that's not true. You
No,
can go out and pull every stoplight in this town.
Yeah, you can go against warrants.
what it comes down to is a lot of these signals were put in without a traffic study. And I can tell you, I was here when we redid Marketplace. We were told to put signals in.
But you put a lot of them in here without this council ever and I wasn't part of that, so you can't blame me, but.
And I can't
One of the
speak,
few you can't.
there was I haven't been here for every signal being put in either, so. But the problem becomes is, so when you go to retroactively look at taking them out, if they meet warrants, it makes it very difficult to make a recommendation to pull a signal that meets warrants.
But you can
We
still do
looked
it.
at 5 intersections. We looked at the Minerva's intersection, we looked at the West 22nd intersection, we looked at West 17th intersection, we looked at West 8th, we looked at West 3rd, West 8th, and West 22nd were the only ones that didn't meet current traffic standard warrants. The reason we looked at those was based on information that was put together when we did the 2006 interconnect project, and that was one of the reasons when we did that interconnect project. And I know a lot of people say it doesn't work. It does work. It's just not as successful as it could have been because our spacing is too close and not equal. It's not equally spaced. It was also based on area information, and it was based on the initial phase of this project that asked for input. And Mark will be able to tell you how many people participated in that first phase. The West 3rd, the West 8th, the West 17th, the Minervas, and the West 22nd were all ones that received high marks from people saying those signals should go. So there was no preconceived
But
notion.
Minerva's didn't go.
Because it didn't
It
meet
may-
warrants.
it meets
I get it,
warrants.
but people still think it should go.
Correct.
And
And you got people here that want to keep West 3rd, even though it doesn't warrant it. So no matter what you come up with, somebody's not going to be happy to take care.
But can't we vote to keep West 3rd and take out 2 of the 3?
Well, you can do
Or
whatever
is it
you
all or nothing?
you can,
Right.
each one
So
is a
that's what we're
separate,
here to discuss.
is a separate motion. but,
Right, right.
I mean, and it's not just based on the traffic counts, but we looked at the crash history of
Yep.
the intersection.
Safety.
And we should probably just go through the presentation and we can get that information out.
We could, but I really want to clarify, because I had the impression with the warrants that it would be it wouldn't be smart to take the signals out because we'd have so many things working against us that the possibility
You
of
open yourself up.
liability, well, there could be a lot of liability on the city's part. So I suppose we could pull every one out that we want, but.
But yet you're
that's-
gonna add them out there on Highway 20, Dan. And you know, I drove that twice this weekend. You know why they're putting that intersection the way they are? You can tell me I'm wrong, but I can tell you I'm 100% right. Because if they leave that exit where it's at today, it conflicts with the driveway turn-in to the new DOT, and they don't want to go all the way around the block like these people have to go. They want to go right into their facility, and that's why, and you're part of it because you're putting those buses out there, that's why those are needed, and that irritates me. We're making it for the convenience of the DOT and not for the citizens of this community. And you guys are for that, Dave. You haven't came out in opposition whatsoever. I'm the only guy that's written a letter here. But you drive that and tell me that's any other reason is baloney. They don't want a conflict with that driveway and that off-ramp. That's all it is.
We're here to talk about that.
I don't care. I want, this stuff is going to come home to haunt us down the road. We just as well solve the problem today on that because you're going to compound the problem with stoplights out there that aren't necessary. So when are we going to deal with this kind of stuff? Because you can sit and blame a past council for ordering you to put a stoplight up. Let's stop the nonsense now then.
I thought we were dealing with that interchange when
No,
we
we're not.
had.
They've told us.
No, let me finish.
They've told
I
us
thought
that
we
they're
were
not
dealing
doing
with it
anything.
when we had representation from the DOT here. They did an entire presentation. That's when we could have asked questions.
I asked a bunch of them and I wrote them a letter. And the letter came back, we're doing it this way, basically, whether you like it or not. So.
I'm just saying, these people can't answer this
Stands up here and
question
speaks is exactly right. Off-ramps are the way to go, not stoplights on interstates. But anyway, let's go.
Back to the RCA.
Let's go.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Dave. Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah. Welcome to
As Dave
council.
previously mentioned, I'm Hannah Neal. I'm a regional planner with Simcoe, and I'm the Simcoe project lead for the Hamilton Boulevard study. Simcoe works with communities within the Siouxland area, in the tri-state area, focusing on local and regional projects. This project has regional impact, improving travel times and safety for road users who live and work in Sioux City, and also for those who are just passing through. This traffic study aims to improve traffic flow and safety along the Hamilton Boulevard corridor, bound to the south at I-29 and bound to the north at Stone Park Boulevard, through evaluating the impacts of potential removal of 3 traffic signals and optimizing signal timings. Burns and McDonnell staff, Mark, will be presenting their findings and recommendations regarding the potential removal of the signals at the intersection of Hamilton Boulevard and West 3rd, West 8th, and West 22nd Streets. This study is one that was selected by the Simcoe Metropolitan Planning Organization's special projects selected by our policy board through the recommendation of the Technical Advisory Committee. And with that, I will pass things over to Mark to present on the project.
Thank you. So I'm Mark Took. I'm the project manager with Burns and McDonnell. And as Hannah alluded to, this is a corridor that's really been needing to be looked at for a long time. Our study area goes from I-29 southbound ramp terminal all the way up to Stone Park Boulevard. It's about 2.5 miles, and within this 2.5 miles, there are 17 traffic signals through the area. Overarching goal is improve safety, improve efficiency, and improve reliability. I do want to take a step back, though, to talk about how we got to this point, because we didn't start at this point with automatically wanting to remove signals. So back in May, we started our initial data collection, and then we also provided a survey, a tool for the public to go and provide their comments. And the purpose of the survey was for the public to give us their feedback, their challenges, their opportunities, what they saw as issues, to really help align the goals of this study to what they're seeing and what the issues and challenges that they're dealing with on there. Only after we received that public input, we tailored and started looking at the traffic data. That happened about July, and started to look at possible solutions to improve the traffic flow. Out of that came 5 intersections that were candidates for removal, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then of those 5, 3 did not meet the traffic signal warrants. So those are the 3 that we looked at to go through the testing phase, to take temporarily out of service, and to evaluate the impacts that might happen if they were permanently removed. And so here we are today to kind of talk about that whole process. So I do want to go to talk about that early phase. What did we hear? This was well publicized. People got to have a short survey to tell us what they were seeing. And also, there was an opportunity to drop kind of a pin mark on the map for particular locations to tell us what some of the challenges were, or some of their thoughts or concerns. Really, the key themes we got out of that, general, too many signals at inappropriate locations, lots of recommendations to remove signals, too many stops, and really inefficient signal timings. And I did want to share a little bit of input that we had provided from there, because there is a lot of frustration, and we heard that a lot of this corridor, of the need to find improvements, the need to improve traffic. And so I just want to share a couple of the comments that we received. One is, Hamilton Boulevard is seriously the most frustrating road I had ever driven on. This is the worst street in Sioux City for traffic. I hate driving Hamilton. While I love Sioux City, Hamilton Boulevard traffic lights is one of the top 5 items that I do not love about Sioux City. You have a huge challenge ahead of you to trying to make traffic actually flow. I don't envy your job. Good luck. Thank you for trying to tackle the challenge that is Hamilton Boulevard. So you can hear the frustration from the commuters. These are people that drive this every single day. It seems to have been a problem that has been built up, and we were able to get some of that input from them to really look at opportunities of what they wanted to do to improve the traffic flow on there. These comments really align with the study that we're doing to look at solutions to improve traffic flow, to improve traffic progression through the area, to move traffic from one end of Hamilton to the other end of Hamilton.
I'm guessing a lot of those comments came in the 4100 block and higher neighborhoods.
The comments were from all across the city in different.
I'm guessing the majority of what you just said. Can you tell me that's not the case? Because I don't feel like the people on West 3rd would make that comment necessarily, because they don't always go north. They're probably going somewhere else. So listen, I live up in that area. I come down a lot. I'm frustrated by it. I share their concern, but you can't take an approach just because it's disruptive to a certain segment of the neighborhood, the vast majority, that you should shut the rest of the community off either.
So we are not shutting the community off. This was from 760 comments from 760 different individuals, with another 120 comments from another 120 individuals.
Do you have zip codes on that?
We do have zip codes on it. I can provide that to you at a later time. We can show where the survey data came in.
I'd like that.
Mark, could you go back to your screen before with the map?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so on the right side, I probably didn't explain this. So on the right side, this is the map, the tool that we had where people could drop in their comments, their concerns, and then this is kind of a heat map representative of where the comments were placed on the map. So you can kind of see the areas that we got the most comments on, really between 3rd Street and probably 19th, and a little bit north to 22nd Street. So, and then again, up in the Hy-Vee area, where you alluded to some more traffic signals need to be out there. So, but again, this is the comments we got. This is what we sought public input. This is what the public told us. Like I said, they're very frustrated. We've seen this, and these are the themes that came through loud and clear from what they had provided to us.
Your West 3rd and West 4th Street, on this map anyway, they're not as red as some of the other areas. So is that a less complaints there, or how would I interpret that? To see that, like on West 3rd and West 4th, there isn't a whole lot there, but as you go further north.
They're related to the ability to move traffic through that area immediately to the north of that area. And I can talk about that a little bit more as we go through, but you know, those are the hot spots that we got the most comments on. and a lot of the signals as well in the area. A lot of recommendations and thoughts
yeah,
for
I
different signals. And so one of the items that a lot of people don't understand is that traffic signals offer both advantages and disadvantages. And that last part is very important. You know, I think everybody's aware of the advantage it offers, the opportunity to stop traffic, to let people go through gaps, the opportunity to prevent certain types of crashes, most notably right-angle crashes. But there's also disadvantages if they're placed at the wrong location, locations that are not warranted. And because of that, that's why FHWA and the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices has established minimum criteria to evaluate the need of a traffic signal. This is applied not just in Sioux City, it's applied evenly every single city, every single state. They follow the same guidance from a uniformity standpoint in order to make sure that a traffic signal, if it is installed, is going to provide safety and it's going to provide operational benefit. And if it does not provide safety and operational benefit, it should not be installed and should actually be removed because it can cause more problems. And I'll get to those in a little bit. So after we got the public feedback, we started to analyze some of the data. These were the 5 intersections that Dave alluded to that we looked at from a signal warrant assessment. There are 9 different signal warrants that have the minimum traffic volumes and as well as pedestrians from a peak hour, 4-hour, and 8-hour time period, different thresholds that these standards from the FHWA are really applied to. And of the results, 17th Street and Center Plaza, those both met warrants from the 4-hour and the 8-hour. The 3rd Street, 8th Street, and 22nd Street, they did not meet the warrants. They did not meet the minimum thresholds to have a signal at those intersections. So those became the candidates that we started to look at for possible removal. So I talked a little bit about the disadvantages. Here they are right here. Excessive delay. We heard that loud and clear on a lot of the public input we had in June. Too many stops. A stop in red light, red light, red light. Excessive disobedience of signal indications. That's running red lights. That can cause crashes, which is a safety problem. Increased use of other roads. In our survey, we found that 82% in the month before, in June, had said that they had taken a different route to avoid traffic signals in there. They're going different locations across and taking different routes because the traffic and the signals are causing so much delay. And finally, the increase of frequency of crashes, especially the rear end types. You're forcing people to stop where they maybe wouldn't otherwise be stopping. Signals are spaced too close where there's traffic backing up from one signal to the next signal and people aren't expecting it. They're following too close and causing rear end crashes. These are all disadvantages of signals that happen when they're located in unwarranted locations. So here is some of the crash data we pulled up. West 3rd Street and Hamilton Boulevard. Since 2016, 60% rear end type, 40% following too close and ran the traffic signal. These are crashes, some of these, that are directly responsible because there's a traffic signal there that is unwarranted. West 8th Street, again, 40% of crashes here since 2016 are rear end type. 2/3 of those, again, are signal related, following too close and running the traffic signal.
You do that on West 17th?
We looked at.
Did you do that on West 17th, I'm asking? Did you do the same thing? I just want to know the data. Did you do the same thing?
We can provide the data if you would like it, yes.
Yeah, I would, because you're doing this, and I think you're going to find the same thing on West 17th or 17th Street. I think you're going to find the same thing on the Center Plaza one. I think you're going to find the exact same.
In the 2.5 miles of the corridor, there are approximately 263 rear-end crashes that have occurred.
And the reason you didn't go.
Asking you the question, did you do the same data? It's a simple answer. If you did, can I have it? That's all I'm asking.
I can provide it with you.
Thank you.
I do not have it in this presentation.
Okay, but that would be fair, wouldn't it, to have it for somebody that doesn't know to be able to compare that same data for the intersections you didn't take out? Wouldn't that be fair?
But they're saying they're not presenting on this because it met warrants. So why would you investigate if it met warrants?
Because I want to know, because I think the crash data is going to be about the same at every intersection along there, unfortunately, because traffic moves a lot faster than it should in that particular area.
And we can get into why some of that is the case as we proceed through this. But I guess my point is, what I want to show is that these intersections, they have the crash patterns that are caused by having unwarranted signals. Again, West 22nd, 50%, rear end crashes, 75% related to signals, ran into the signal, following too close. So after we collected the data, we started the interim removal process at 3rd Street, 8th Street, and 22nd Street. So that first started a 30-day flash period, followed up by another 60 days where they were bagged and turned off. And the intent of that is to really to be able to evaluate how the traffic signals operate, if there's safety concerns, if there's operation concerns, and an interim period. The reason that there's 90 days, that follows the federal process. That's enough time to kind of be able to see how things happen, give people time to change, particularly for taking them out, and really observe the behavior to see if taking them out really improves the conditions or not. And so we started this on August 11th. A couple key points on this. During this period, we also took public input. As I noted, the study was driven by public input, both from the start and through the testing phase. We had phone number, people could call and leave messages. We received all those messages, we combed through those. If there was something that somebody pointed out, we would go out to the site and investigate and see if we could reciprocate and validate some of those comments that they had. So one of the reasons you see up there in the middle, Hamilton and 3rd Street. So we get that question a lot. Why didn't we just bag the signal head there and take it out? And the reason for that is because at that particular intersection, there's vertical and horizontal alignment issues that create sight distance challenges. Some people say to take out a signal is going to make it less safe. We are trying to make it more safe by limiting those potential movements, prohibiting the left turns from Hamilton off of there that would be exposed to a right-angle crash, by limiting the crossing movements across 3rd Street that could potentially be exposed to a right-angle crash. Those were prohibited during the study period because of the sight distance limitations. And so as we progress through that, you'll hear that a little bit more about why we did that and why was that just that intersection. That is why we only looked at that intersection. Also with 3rd Street, the intersection going across is at a skew. That also creates additional challenges for people trying to make decisions to go through there. So by taking the signal out temporarily, reducing the conflict points, so now they only have to look at one direction of traffic, it's actually safer to do this. And that's what we studied in this particular interim evaluation. We sought public input, as I noted. Anybody that signed up for the early phase, we sent them emails to give them continual updates on what was going on throughout there. We had a list of stakeholders and businesses that we sent emails out and made phone calls to let them know that things were changing and this is why. There was posts on Facebook, both on the Sioux City's page and Simcoe. There was press releases and news coverage. We provided everybody the opportunity to come and provide input on what they thought should be done. And if they were having problems, come tell us so we could investigate them, validate them, and see if those were true operational or safety concerns. So this is what we heard. We had 166 people that completed our online survey. We had numerous phone calls as well. And this was the key takeaway. At West 3rd, approximately 80% of the people indicated that traffic flow was improved or the same as before. At West 8th Street, over 90% indicated that traffic flow is improved or about the same. Similarly, 22nd Street, almost 2/3 of response indicated that traffic flow is improved or about the same. And before we get into those, I do want to provide some of the feedback that I received for those to give you guys a fair indication of what we received on some of the comments. And I'll just kind of read a few of these. So at 3rd Street, in the positive, avoids unneeded stops on Hamilton that waste time, fuel, and safety. Just another useless stoplight that finally got taken down, especially when there is another major traffic signal right next block. This is so much better, way better. This intersection has seen a massive improvement in traffic flow. I haven't seen any substantial backup on 3rd Street, and I haven't needed to stop once at the intersection. So what we talked about a little bit about before was why 3rd Street. It is closely spaced to 4th Street. It's difficult to time those two signals together. There was queuing at 4th Street that would back up to 3rd Street and vice versa. Those were some of the contributing factors to the crashes I spoke about earlier. And to be fair, I'm going to read some of the opposing comments as well, because I do believe in transparency and I want to share the input that we received. Some of the comments: people have no safe way to turn left across Hamilton. Without the lights, there will be more traffic accidents. That's exactly why we tried to mitigate that by prohibiting those movements, so that instead of crossing people or having people cross the intersection or have people turn left, instead they were only looking at one direction of traffic. It's actually safer. They're only focused on one direction of traffic at a time to make a decision to turn.
Mark, this is just truly a question. So on West 22nd Street, don't you have left hand, you can turn left there, can't you, to go south on Hamilton?
Yes.
Because I see cars sitting there for a long period of time.
Yep, and
what appears long period of time for me to sit there to pull out, but wouldn't you have the same argument for West 22nd Street?
No, it's a different scenario, and I'll get to that in a minute, okay? Just one more comment I want to share. Traffic backing up on the side streets. We don't need lights removed. All are flashing yellows, and people can know when it's their time to turn. So right now it takes forever. So that comment again, and I'll get to this a little bit later as well. One of the things that is left to do with this with this corridor is to retime the signals, but we need a decision on these signals in order to move to the next stage. And if we could get that in place, then that would help solve some of the problems that people are talking about on 4th Street with additional traffic. Right now, the timings at 4th Street are only set up to handle the traffic that was there previously. It's not set up to handle the additional traffic that is now going there as a result of 3rd Street. So if we had the opportunity to then implement optimized timings, we could help mitigate some of those concerns that these folks are having.
Mark, the last comment were for West 3rd. Did it say, the citizen comment, we should put a 4-way flashing yellow? Is that what that comment said?
I think it was saying that with the flashing yellow arrows for the turn lanes, that they thought that was sufficient in order to have traffic be able to turn through there.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood that. I thought they wanted 4-way flashing on all.
So again, that's 80% of people that responded indicated it was the same or improved from when we did that. I want to go to share again some comments at 8th Street. A lot better. Better traffic flows, seemingly less randomized stops. I was stopped at this light often, whether on Hamilton or West 8th, and now less stops on Hamilton. And I feel like I'm able to cross traffic faster if I'm at West 8th instead of waiting for a long light. So this person actually experienced that at certain times of the day. It's actually, he didn't have to wait for the light to change. He could actually go across easier and faster. And then again, some of the negatives. Traffic's still backed up. People can't get across the intersection, and there's a lot of businesses there. People have no safe way to turn left across Hamilton. Without the lights, there will be more traffic accidents. It's too difficult to pull out from entrances and shops. Leave it alone. Now, the difference that I think you were getting to at this particular intersection, there are clear sight lines. It's easy to see through there, and there are no sight limitations at this particular intersection. That's why at this intersection, we basically just bagged the signal heads. We didn't make any geometric modifications. We didn't block any medians off because the sight distance is there for people to be able to see traffic where they need to see it to be able to safely maneuver through the intersection. So the last one I want to talk about again is 22nd Street. Again, 67% of respondents indicate that traffic flow was improved or about the same. Again, some of the positive comments. Flow on Hamilton is much smoother with very minimal wait times from 22nd, less than a normal red light. Again, similar response at certain times of the day. It's actually faster to get through the intersection than have to wait for the red light to change to green for them. It seems like cars waiting to turn left from Hamilton Boulevard on 22nd Street don't have to wait as long as with the light. People are finding it easier to turn through there with some gaps. Way better traffic flow, not necessary to have a light there. Yes, I think the flow of traffic is better. I think eliminating that would be beneficial. And again, many of the comments of this particular intersection revolved around it's difficult to cross Hamilton. They have no safe way to turn left across Hamilton. There will be more traffic accidents. The lack of traffic lights makes it difficult to cross the intersection. Traffic is driving too fast across the street. It's unable to turn left off of 22nd Street. So we went out and investigated a lot of these concerns at 22nd Street. And this is what we found. We found at certain times of the day, traffic is busy there, and traffic will have to wait. I personally observed traffic there. There's about 3 to 4 cars there, and the first person pulled up, and he waited for about 20 seconds. Then he decided to give up and turn right. He was wanting to make a left-hand turn, go south down Hamilton. But what he didn't see is what happened next, because in the next 10 seconds, the following 3 to 4 cars all easily found a gap and made it through the intersection, and the entire intersection cleared in that time. So the point being is, had that person just waited a little bit longer, they would have been able to travel and get their route as well, the direction they wanted to go, instead of making a different turn, maneuver a different direction. There are times of the day, like I said, it is going to be busy. But some of those, removing the traffic light and some of those issues that we saw with the crashes do outweigh that small window of time where it is difficult to make some turns out of there. And then again, the next, as we go to optimize the signal timings and subsequent, in the next phase, we'll be able to have better signal spacing, which will enable those platoons to come together much easier, and that will open up a better opportunity to have some gaps to have people turn out of there easier. And really, that's what we're asking to do today. We're asking you to take these recommendations, to vote on them, and have a decision on how you want to move forward with these. We've heard the public's comments. A lot of this was public induced. They provided the early feedback. We followed through on it, aligning the goals with that, and then also continue that public feedback through the testing phase. Our technical analysis aligns with a lot of the public support that we've heard. And again, this is from the Iowa SUDAS manual, and I'm just going to read it out loud. Long uniform spacing of intersections and signals on major roadways enhances the ability to coordinate signals and ensure continuous movement of traffic at the desired speed. So basically what it's stating is that by removing closely spaced signals that are only a block apart, we have the ability to move traffic better, with less delays, with less stops, and in a safer manner. And that's really the intent of removing these signals. It is not to penalize or punish any individual business. It's not to punish or penalize any individual residents. It's to provide a safe solution to move traffic through the corridor, which is exactly consistent with what the overall goals of the study were. With that, I'll stop and ask if there's any other questions that I can help address at this
I
time.
think you ought to hire him to go to bat for us on Highway 20.
Will you go back to that positivity or the percentages of public input?
Absolutely.
You don't agree?
Thank you.
I wasn't prepared to talk about Highway 20, and
I think we better be soon, or we're going to find ourselves 10 years from now with the exact same problem we have in this corridor.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, because I just want to think, we have to make these decisions and impact the public in a great way. So we need to make sure, at least for my mind, that I'm following you correctly. So what we're finding is that with the inclusion of these stoplights, oftentimes people are stopping short because they're trying to catch the light, or if it turns yellow, they'll stop short, or maybe they're turning right and they didn't see them, they were going to turn right. That's the lion's share or the majority of the accidents that are happening along Hamilton Boulevard. Is that accurate? So we're thinking that when we're taking these lights out, it will alleviate some of those points?
Yes, so what has happened is kind of twofold. So one, because these signals, so you look at 3rd Street, there's 4th Street right down the block. What's happening is because those two are so closely spaced, it is difficult to time those together. And what happens is traffic ends up backing up from one intersection or to the other intersection. And so as you come down, you don't recognize that there's cars, a queue of cars that are stopped, and you end up hitting one of them. That goes away if you take the signal out, because now we have an adequate signal spacing more closely to the half mile that's recommended by SUDAS to be able to bring those platoons together. So we don't have a queue of vehicles sitting there waiting for somebody to come hit them from behind. In addition, the red light ones, right? So one of the challenges and the reasons for removing unwarranted signals is because people, they frankly just lose respect for those. They don't believe that they have to stop. No, nobody's ever here. It's only a few cars that trickle in. I can run the red light. And then what ends up happening is that one time they do, they get into a crash. That's directly impacted by running a red light from the signal. If the signal's not there, that person is not stopping there.
And then the other question I had, so I mean, obviously I think first and foremost, I mean, I hear Pete in the back of my head talking about safety and what we can do to improve safety. I just wanted to make clear that your recommendation, based off the numbers, based off everything that we have analyzed, not only in Sioux City, but also, you know, elsewhere, would just say the removal of these increases or improves the timing that would lead to less accidents, correct?
That is correct. Removing these signals will allow for greater signal spacing, which will allow for better traffic signal timings.
And fewer accidents.
And fewer accidents.
And then the second question I had, because I know there are passionate groups here representing different sections of this, or, you know, specifically West 3rd, but when taken into account all of public input, and I think we did as best job as we can of reaching out to the public, holding meetings, sending emails, and then also online correspondence as well. But what you came back was that 80% of the respondents indicated that traffic flow was improved or about the same?
That's correct.
For that specific one? Because that's where it's challenging for me is, I mean, I think we're going to have some passionate people here in the council chambers that, you know, say that we need that intersection. And I just wanted to make sure when we take into account everyone that was responding or everyone that was having input, at least it was 80% positive.
And I do want to say, I share the same goals as everybody else. I want safe intersections. I would not recommend taking the signal out if I believed it was going to be unsafe. And that's what I thought might happen if we just took it out and didn't provide any of the channelization, the barricades prohibiting the turn movements. For example, right now, or previously when the signal was installed, those left turns, those were protected only phases. That means we stop all of the traffic from the other direction to allow those left turns to go through there. The reason they were left turned, the reason those were protected phases, not because of volume, because of sight distance, because we needed to stop all the traffic to be able to have enough sight distance for a vehicle turning left off of Hamilton onto 3rd Street to be able to safely do that. That's why it was there. So that's why we do not have those today with the signal out, because it's not safe to do that.
Cross, yeah. Okay.
I have some questions for you as well. How did you factor speed in your study? Is everybody going 35 miles an hour on Hamilton now that we've, well, even before and after? The question is, how did speed factor into what your recommendations are?
A traffic signal is not a device to provide speed. To provide speed, either prohibit speed or reduce speed. Speed is set by the posted speed limit, which is 35 miles per hour through the corridor. Typically, that's based on the 85th percentile of what traffic is flowing through there. If I go to this last slide, one thing I want to point out in here says improving the signal spacing, ensure conditions and movement of traffic at the desired speed. The desired speed is what the posted speed is, the 85th percentile, because that's what people believe they're comfortable in doing, in driving. They will drive the same speed, no matter if you post it higher or lower. They will drive what they're most comfortable with based on the characteristics of the roadway and how they feel that they can safely do that.
The next question involves populated areas, such as on West 3rd Street. There's a lot of walking traffic. There are businesses there or facilities there where people are walking. Did you take that into consideration? in your study?
We did take the pedestrian flow into consideration during our study. One of the signal warrants that we could have looked at was pedestrians and the number of pedestrian volume that would be needed to put a pedestrian signal in there. That number is right around 75 pedestrians in an hour. That is extremely high and not anywhere close to the amount of peds that we have crossing there. In fact, the 24-hour count at 3rd Street crossing Hamilton was less than 20 pedestrians. That's 20 pedestrians throughout the entire day, not an hour, not any time, you know, an entire day. And so we believe that the crossing, you could still cross on 3rd Street on both sides to go north-south, but it would be best for the safest route would be to go to the next signal where we do have pedestrian accommodations provided to allow for safe crossing of along Hamilton Boulevard.
Up on 4th Street,
Oh, next intersection, right?
up on 4th.
Yes, 4th Street, correct.
My other comment or question, and I'm sure staff that's been here for a long time will correct me if I'm wrong in this, but I don't want to be harsh on past councils that made decisions, and I don't want to be harsh on past engineers. Hamilton wasn't always a commercial corridor. It was primarily residential, and it grew into commercial. And I think the point was we want to keep it safe as we could for our residents because it was primarily residential. I remember going through heated discussions about, do we expand Hamilton commercial corridor to Geneva Street, make that a commercial corridor and take out all the residents? So it's evolved over time. And I think those signals had a purpose and actually functioned well for us. I mean, you're looking at 2021, but you can't tell me anything about 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So I kind of want to get away from this. We need to get rid of them now because, after all, they don't serve a purpose. They served a purpose at one time.
Absolutely.
And some of them still may serve a purpose. And then you have to start weighing. It's a balancing test. I mean, you might have 80% of your 200 people, or well, I can't remember how many you surveyed, 600 people?
166 responded.
166. So you might have 80% of 166 people, but you might have 20 people that live in the area that are just concerned about their pure safety that we need to address as a council. Excuse me, I need to address as a council member. So it's tougher. I guess what I'm saying is if you could just do check marks and check marks, it'd be easy for us to say, well, let's just do that. But I think we have more playing into this than what you have given credit to our citizenship. I'm not being critical. You have to go by the numbers. You have to follow all of the technical stuff. I get that. But there's also another side to this equation, I think, that we have to take a serious look at.
I will say that it's not uncommon for traffic signals to be warranted when they first go in, and then to have, over time, traffic patterns change. Things that may have been built go away. It could be the opposite way. Things move away. That changes those things, and that changes those numbers.
And again, I'm not being critical here, but I don't think we're all clear on what warrants mean, because I've heard statements made that we're not going to look at that particular signal because the warrants are there. So you can't take them out. But earlier we stated, well, no, we have the right and ability to take them out if we want, no matter what the warrants are. So
As long as there's a traffic study that justifies that taking it out will not provide safety or operational deficiencies that could cause harm to the public.
You're telling me then on some of those where we have signals that study would show the warrants are there and it wouldn't be wise to pull the signal out.
Wise, but it doesn't mean you can't take it.
That's correct. Now, that doesn't mean you can't take it out. That is your choice. But as my professional opinion, I would not recommend taking those signals out.
Okay, thank you.
And Dan, one of the things, I think there's there's a difference between perception and reality a lot of times, and the perception being that just because there's a traffic signal, it's safer. And I think what the crash data he showed is that with that traffic signal, and you're looking at that there's actually an increased number of crashes at those intersections because the traffic signal's there versus the traffic signal not being there. And the difference between a property damage only crash and a fatality is very minimal, and also there's multiple factors that come into it. The main factor for a crash doesn't determine whether it's a property damage only or a fatality. There's a lot of other factors that go into that ultimately result in what happens. So when I look at crashes, I don't necessarily look at what was the end result. I'm just looking at how did the crash occur. And most of these are rear ends where the traffic on Hamilton is slowing or stopping, and the person behind them isn't slowing or stopping because either they think they can make it or any other multitude of reasons, they run into the rear end of them, or they just flat out, like he says, runs the red light and crashes into somebody who off the side street thinks, I'm protected, I got a green light, it's my turn to go. I mean, I know I catch myself doing it all the time. I don't necessarily look both ways before I go out into a street. When I got a green light, I'm going. And I'm expecting that person to stop. Well, you know, in some of these places in Hamilton, it's surprising the number of run the red light crashes we have over a 10-year period at these 3 intersections.
Slide through it in the wintertime.
Well, no, if it was, and the crash reports take that into effect, and I'm looking only at ones that are they're not
Right.
lost control, they're not this, they're just flat out the person ran the red light. Because if it was a weather condition, the crash report says that.
Dave, let me ask you this in your professional opinion, and you've seen some emails that I've shared with you. How do we take into consideration when we've caused an inconvenience or disturbance to a facility or a business that's ongoing by changing the traffic signal or taking the traffic signal out? Do we have some obligation to address that when there's a?
I think we work. Yeah, we definitely have. I'm not sure if we have an obligation. I think we have a moral responsibility to work with them to change. But I mean, I don't think we leave in a signal because we have cut-through traffic.
We put a signal, Dave, at West Middle School. I realize it's triggered, but that signal isn't warranted. The one that I turn in down at the bottom of my house, you can't warrant, you can't tell me that.
I would have to go back.
Oh, I know, but we got all these around town and.
But I mean, that's the thing. It's you're right.
You've told us for years we got a lot more than we need, but we don't do anything about them. We just leave them out there.
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's we're trying to take them out if they're not needed.
And just so Mark and Hannah understand, Dave, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, on this, but and perception is important. My perception was we did a 90-day trial basis to see what the problems were going to be and how it worked out. And so that's what we want to take into account as well. Those are just as important.
It's a short time period.
And that's how we, and I'm probably using this term loosely, but that's how we, quote, sold it to the public, is that it's a 90-day trial. You ask us to just sit tight while this 90 days is running, and we'll gather up the problems and see what we have, what the issues are. And I think there still are some real issues that we to look at.
I do want to talk about within the 90 days, there were 0 crashes at 3rd Street. There were 0 crashes at 8th Street. There was only 1 crash at West 22nd Street. That was a result of a turning vehicle that was falling too close and ended up with a rear end.
But again, if you're going to give me those kind of facts, then tell me what we had the year before at all those intersections.
This is a unique situation because this is directly relevant to having the signals out.
That's fine. But if we only had 4 on West 3rd Street the year before, that means you're still averaging 1 every 90 days. If you're going to give me statistics, then give me statistics what it was before. That's not unreasonable.
But he was saying there were 0 at 3rd.
I'm saying there were 0 crashes in the 90-day trial period at 3rd Street and at 8th Street.
Because nobody's traveling it anymore, okay? I get that.
No, that's
but
not,
I want to know what the other
intersections
intersections were.
There are still 16,400 people that are daily going through that intersection on Hamilton. They are still going through the intersection.
Yeah, going Hamilton, but nobody's pulling out there to speak of.
In a relative manner, the traffic volumes on 3rd Street
Okay, forget it. I asked
are
for a
roughly
simple deal. Forget it. It's no big deal.
I'm happy to answer your question, and I'm attempting to do so.
No, you're not. I said all I want is you don't have to get it today. I just want to know what the traffic accidents on those corners were the last couple of years. That's all.
And I can go back to the slide and show those again of what they were. So on Third Street, 22 crashes since 2016.
Okay? You
60%
didn't
of
have
those
that
rear
out.
end.
I don't see 22 crashes, but down at the bottom, okay.
22
I got it.
crashes, 48 total vehicles,
Okay,
1 serious injury, 5 possible injuries.
okay, and were they on Hamilton or were they on Third Street?
Those are on Hamilton.
Well, they're at the intersection.
Forget it, just forget it, keep moving. That's okay.
But this is what you wanted, isn't it, or no?
I don't know, yeah, that's fine, that's great.
Can you run through those again, too? Because I just want to see those numbers, the 3 intersections.
Yeah. So and since 2016, 22 crashes
Right.
at Hamilton Boulevard, 1 serious injury, 5 possible injuries. At 8th Street, 18 total crashes, 1 minor injury, 4 possible injuries. Again, since 2016,
Since 2016,
5 years of data.
exactly. So that means there's less than 3.5 a year, basically.
Since 2016, 12 crashes at 22nd Street, 1 minor injury, 2 possible injuries.
So that means there's less than 2 a year.
And what they're saying is through better spacing
Well, they
and
had
fewer
one-
signals
they-
that it would
listen,
reduce.
What they're saying is they had 1 in 90 days. That's 4 a year average, is what,
Yeah, but
right. You can't, but,
you're using one intersection versus comparing to 3 intersections.
no.
Because then that
Go
is,
back,
be-
Dave, go back and
it'd be
divide it by
30
5 years.
because that
What on
accident was at
Westford-
West
on
22nd,
Westford,
right?
You're saying that,
Yeah,
Dave?
there's 52 crashes at all 3 intersections in 5 years, so 10 per year, almost 1 a month, and we were down to 1 in 3 months.
Okay?
So
And again, the
we should have
majority
had
of
about
those,
6 crashes in this 90-day trial period on average, and instead we had 1.
No, you should have had 2.5. It's, 90 days is a quarter of a year if you average 10.
Yeah,
I
10, you're right,
know you
2.5.
take a lot of math in your engineering program.
I'm
but
doing it on the-
I took some of my day.
I'm doing it on the fly here. So 2.5, yeah, so 2.5, a little more than 2.5, and we're
At
talking
one.
about we had 1. So,
But you also aren't taking it, do it for another 90 days when the snow's flying and see if your numbers hold true. So, but that's fair, it's coming down.
But these are all the total crashes, not whether, you didn't take any crashes out.
so, I mean,
They were weather
to look
related.
at it, so at Westford, 5-year, I had 14 total crashes, so I gotta look and see where our data's different, but 9 rear ends and 1 run the red light, so 10 of your 14 crashes were related to the traffic signal. West 8th, 14, 9 of them were related to the traffic
Well,
signal.
I see what you're saying.
They're rear ends, or someone ran that red light on Hamilton. Again, West 22nd, 10 total crashes in 5 years, 5 of them were run the red light or rear end. You go to the 10-year, and the numbers actually jump up. But you're looking somewhere between 55 and 75% of your crashes are related to the traffic signals that are happening at those intersections.
And this
Any
is
other
trying to
questions?
alleviate that.
Any other questions for him?
No, I don't have any questions. I've sat through this a couple of times now, but I will say this, that are we not, when you, as you point out, when you get the total numbers, now we're talking 1 in 90 days versus 3 or 4 a year, are we not obligated to make our streets as safe as we possibly can? And even though those numbers are small and it looks like we wouldn't have a huge difference, if we know, based upon this study, that we can prevent traffic accidents and prevent injuries and prevent fatalities, don't we want to take a serious look at?
Well, I just don't understand why your line of sight at West Third, although it's a very wide intersection, I will agree with that, isn't any more dangerous than West 22nd Street, because I'm telling you, I don't like pulling out of West 22nd Street, because that line of sight is horrible.
I agree with you, Mayor. I went out for a noon ride today, and I stopped at, I was facing west, stopped at 3rd and Hamilton on the east side of the road, and I'm not even sure that that's all that challenging of a sign of light looking to the south, because there is no West 2nd Street that intersects. It's West 1st to West 3rd. It's a pretty long distance. I don't know what that would be, several hundred feet for sure, if not longer. If you pull up to West Third and Hamilton, and you can't see that a car's too close and you shouldn't be going out, then there's a problem there. There's a good line of sight at West Third to West First. Those accidents shouldn't be happening there, in my humble opinion. But I just think, I don't want the numbers to, first of all, I'm impressed with the numbers that you got 166 respondents. I'm not sure in my 8 years on council we've ever got that many respondents to any issue we talked about. So that, although again, in and of itself, 166 doesn't sound like a large number, I think it really is when you conduct a survey and you get that many people. So there is an issue there that we need to pay attention to. And I think when it's, you have those kinds of figures, 80 and 90 and 67%, the 90-day period, albeit maybe it's too short, maybe it does have to be in a different setting, winter and whatever. I mean, but the numbers, I'm just totally impressed that if we take the time to analyze and see that the numbers will reduce simply by making the flow of traffic, which is our only major artery on the west side of town and maybe our only one for the city, north-south artery, arterial roadway. We really need to make that as safe as we can. And if 16 to 17,000 vehicles are driving that every day, then I think we're really obligated to take a close look and determine that if it's safer, it's worth the try to see if it is safe, it'll stay safe. And with all due respect to everybody on the west side of town, I've never been terribly excited about making decisions against neighborhoods. I take a great deal of respect for people who live in neighborhoods, especially for extended periods of time, because they have, built a relationship there that they want to keep going the way that it is. They want it to be safe. They like where they're at, and I want to make it be a part of making it as comfortable as I can for them. But if there's an opportunity to make it safer and to prevent traffic accidents and injuries and damage and fatalities, I think maybe it's important that we really take a close look, and if it requires going 2 blocks extra to cross Hamilton or 3 blocks extra, I think it's more than worth the effort. We did get an email from, the first gentleman we received an email on the city's website from talked about the senior center, Active Generations, and they're concerned about people cutting from West 3rd to West 4th. And I drove through the parking lot a couple times today, and I understand.
It was you. You did it.
Yes.
You did it.
No, but I stopped, and I wasn't driving very fast. But I do think they can take some, I don't know, I've heard you use the phrase traffic calming. And maybe a couple of, what do I want to call them?
Speed bumps.
Speed bumps on both sides, leading up to the main entrance. Would people try to cut through there and scoot over one street or the other, and probably from 3rd to 4th, they're going to find out real quick it's not as comfortable as they thought. They're going to turn at West 3rd and Cook and do it a block early. And I think that'll make things a lot better at the Active Generations Senior Center. But I also think they can post stop signs better there that will help with that problem. But I would support anything that will make less or result in less traffic accidents and less damages and injuries. And I just think this is something that probably we should have taken care of a long time ago. And Dan, I know you made the comment, Hamilton Boulevard was never commercial and mostly residential. I started on the police department over 50 years ago, and it's always been, you know, there have been from the south of West 7th Street, a lot of residents.
I was here, and it was a huge argument when you moved that corridor to the east side of Hamilton. Before that, it was all west side after 19th Street. If you remember, that was all housing.
What I remember is Hamilton running from the interstate right on up to the end of town.
But Dan can remember the
And all the
argument. He was on
businesses and-
PNT at the time. It was a Donnybrook when we put the Wells Fargo Bank in there. It was the changing of the whole west side. I remember it.
Well, it might have been when they did it,
Right.
but it's been a lot longer than 10, 20, or 30 years. It's been there, and I
Well,
can
no,
remember
I would
responding
agree.
to.
It was a corridor on the west side of the street, but it was never on the east side for a long
It's-
time, so.
I just think it's, for me at least, it's terribly important to do whatever we can do to make it safer, and I think that's really the route that I would feel the most comfortable with.
Okay, anybody else? We're going to have citizens talk. Citizens, can please come up and state your name and address for the record, please. Try to limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay. Miriam Clayton, 1423 West 4th. I live in this area. I go to church at Emmanuel, which is on the west side of Hamilton. I'm a lifetime member of the senior center on the east side. And I haven't heard of anyone that is in favor of keeping it this way. One thing West 3rd is like a wind tunnel coming from the west. You put a wall in there, you're gonna have snow backed up. It's a lot of snow there. Emmanuel, we're always shoveling a whole lot of snow from there. 80%, I don't know. I haven't heard of one person that's in favor of having it taken away. And I've talked to a lot of people. Guess that's about it.
Well, people like me like it. I mean, I'm to be honest,
You like it?
because I don't have to stop at three
Yeah.
stoplights,
Yeah.
but I don't live in the neighborhood either.
No.
So
And
that's,
then you've got that traffic
Right.
coming from the south. If you're coming on the east side there, you don't see them until they're
Yeah.
up there. And a lot of the seniors are driving and don't see it.
Dave, with regard to the wall, will that actually be a wall or will it just be a low, medium, a curve?
It'll be a median. The wall,
Okay.
the barriers will
Right.
stay this winter, but
Yeah.
next winter, next
Yeah.
summer.
Well, you'll
we'll-
find
Yeah,
out.
so it won't be a snow fence type situation
I
permanently?
mean, unfortunately, we'll deal with it for this year.
Right, okay.
Good evening. I'm Pat Tomshay from the Siouxland Center for Active Generations. I appreciate your time and looking after this matter for us here. And I agree with you, Mr. Roken, on the safety is important. But when you take public safety off the streets and put it onto our parking lot, we really have to take a second look at it. And that's what's happening is people are taking that shortcut through our front lot. And you know that front lot is 6 feet from our door.
Yes.
And we might have someone that's 85 that's coming out that door and not looking, and that person's traveling away. That safety goes away. We've caused an accident there. So I think when we take the public way and put it to a private parking lot, I think we have to take a good consideration of what we're doing. We have a traffic stop there, and we have a light. It's working. I don't know why we have to make a change on that. I'm a little disappointed that I haven't seen any comments. I know for transparency reasons. I've had 3 comments that I made, and I didn't see one of them on there, on that. Did you not talk about the neighborhood comments?
I did not list all comments.
I had
It was
3
only a
voice
sample.
messages that left. One night when I was there at an evening meeting, we had 10 cars go through and did not stop. We could mitigate it a little bit maybe, but still that's 6 feet from our door. People are cutting across. We have a residential area right to the south of us. Many people are cutting across that, and I see that increasing as these barriers are kept up. Finally, from a statistical analysis, we had 15,000 people going up and down Hamilton. We had 166 comments. In what statistical world is that valid? These are self-reported surveys. I would think that in any political survey, we'd have to have a bigger survey sample, correct? Now, I know you said
No,
166 is really good, but I would think a bigger statistical analysis would be necessary to make a decision such as this. I'm
that's
trying
why
to think, I didn't have a pencil back there when I was writing, but I think that might be. The second thing is public safety, and you kind of talked about, as Siouxland Center for Active Generations, we do have some seniors that may not have the reflex, and turning right on that corner that you said was pretty decent. I think we're going to see an accident there turning right on that, because not everybody has that same reflex as they're driving to our center. I do think this is an important matter, and that's why I'm here.
That I agree. I think there may end up being accidents there, but the line of sight is what I was making reference to. And if there's an accident, it'll be because of the speed. But I know that the mayor's going to work diligently. He's already started on some traffic cameras. And Hamilton Boulevard would be a great great start for that.
I do think that speed's going to increase if that stoplight's not there. People coming up from the Hamilton or from Tri-View and from the interstate are going to go faster on that on that corner.
That's exactly right.
And I'd like to see the elevation, because I think you made reference that the elevation is quite dramatic, and that's why you studied it.
Yeah, that's why they put the barricades and you can't go across.
Right, because of the variation in that level. I think that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
I think your point is I think your point's well taken about shifting the public safety from Hamilton into your business, and I just don't think that's right to do that either. So I'm glad you spoke.
Thank you.
You made a compelling argument.
Anyone else?
It's my understanding, I don't know, does PD take care of jurisdiction in private parking lots?
No.
Will they come out to that?
No. I mean,
But they can't do that.
Legally cut through a parking lot.
I think what you want to do.
Well, I don't know if they can enforce that jurisdiction-wise.
Yeah, well, they can if there's a witness there or somebody's,
doing that.
They're
if
parked
you're
there and they see
using
'em go
that
through.
to avoid a traffic control device, then
Well, I
they
think
could
that's
probably
what they're
take
doing,
enforcement.
so.
And getting a
they'll come
police
out.
officer out there to do that, good luck, okay?
Yeah, thank
But
you.
thanks for coming.
They'll come out. They'll talk to you. They'll give you a recommendation.
Hope springs eternal for my friend Pete. I'm going to miss that. Go ahead. Name and address, please.
Michael Brandhagen, 1423 West 3rd, or West 4th Street. I'm here to speak up in opposition to removing the traffic signal on West 3rd in Hamilton. Basically, it's a public safety issue that, along with other issues that have come up, but basically, not only are we taking the signal out, but we're also blocking access going east-west. West 3rd Street, if you're familiar with it, when you go towards town, and West 3rd and West 4th Streets are our only access streets going west from here. West 3rd Street going west takes you right to the only entrance to Mercy Medical, is our only hospital that we have. So when the first responders are going down West 3rd Street, you only can go right. So you go down to Tri-View and hope there's not a train. You cut back to Tyson, then you got to cut back up. You're losing 20, 25 minutes on the response time, and you've got a person and they're injured, and you're not a doctor, and you're going to get a doctor to get this person diagnosed. Basically, it's caused people on the West 3rd Street, it's a ghost street now, because you can only go down to Hamilton from the west. And there's a lot of people that live out there. There's 10% of the population. They can only go right. And where do people in the neighborhood want to go? They want to go left. They want to go out and shop. All bomb guards, they want to go to Hy-Vee, but they can't. Now they got to go down to Tri-View, turn around in Horizon's parking lot, and then come back north. And that's not, it's basically putting a burden on West 4th Street now. West 4th, you come out here, this is actually West 4th, West 6th Street, or 6th Street is. Your hospital is right here, you're heading out. West 4th Street is the only street that goes clear out to the west part of town, to South Dakota, that you don't have to stop. So when the people are, West 4th Street is the only street, and then West 3rd Street is the only way back to the hospital, and they're one-way streets. So when you come back to West 3rd Street, you have one entrance and one leaving. But last winter, I live on West 4th Street and George Street, and our fire hydrant got hit. And you have a traffic accident, so West 4th Street's blocked. So where do they divert the traffic to? The West 3rd Street. Okay? And if you're an EMT, and I'm not, but where are you going to go? Your direct route is going to West 3rd Street on the west side of Hamilton to the hospital. Now you got to either go right down to Triview, or you got to go left back to 4th Street. Then you got to go back. 4th Street doesn't go through the hospital. So now you got to come back this way. You got to come back this way, and you're losing a lot of time. You know, we've really kind of denied our citizens here on the west side that 4th Street, you're in trouble if that's blocked. We've had 2 different houses within a half a block from us that caught on fire. Luckily, there was no injuries, but the street's blocked off. So what do? The side streets don't get plowed. We got 5 months of winter now. So when you're diverting that traffic, you want to stay on West 3rd Street because the city does an excellent job because they know it's an alternative emergency route to the hospital. But now, what do? You go down to Myrtle Street, and hopefully nobody's stuck in that way on 4th Street to get back onto 4th Street. So you're losing a lot of valuable time. You're upsetting a lot of citizens. People tell me in the neighborhood, they say, why does West 3rd and West 4th Street get plowed and our side streets don't get plowed? Well, it's an emergency route. West 3rd is an alternate if West 4th is blocked. We've only got 2 streets on the west of Hamilton. Now, I told you about the fire hydrant. That was Christmas time. Somebody came down the hill and took the hydrant out, so it blocked the street. January, the same year, it got hit again. Got replaced. The city guy come out, and we're up without service for a month because the hydrant's out of service because it's been hit. The city guy replaced it, and he says, well, don't worry about it. It's not going to happen again. The 3rd time in one winter. West 4th Street's blocked off 3 different times, you know, and it's not our fault. It's because people come to the stop sign on Rebecca Street, and that's the only one on West 4th Street till you get to Castleman, but they're stopped, so they're gunning to get up the street because it's wintertime. And so when they're gunning it, they take our hydrant out.
Yeah, I'm going to have you wrap it up, okay?
But, you know, and just inconvenience, people come up, they work at Tyson, they work at Seaboard. West 3rd Street, you can't go home. You have to, you're putting an additional burden on West 4th Street, which is busy enough already. That's the major complaint that we get from the coalition is the traffic on West 4th Street. Now we got 3 more streets coming up to West 4th Street to go where?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And also thank Carney and Hannah and Mr. Moore to come to our meeting and hear our concerns because we had about 20 people there and nobody was for the closing of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else be heard?
Dave, did the emergency services look at this, at all the
We haven't
intersections?
gotten any comments from fire or PD out regard,
Or the EMT?
or EMT, yeah.
I do have one last comment. I just would like to really thank all the input we got from the public, hearing everybody's comments, very valuable to our study. Everybody that participated took time online to tell us their comments, to tell us their thoughts, their concerns, their challenges. I just wanted to say thank you for all those people that are out there that did that. That was very helpful for us to get a good understanding and really help provide, help really look at recommendations and what makes improve the overall corridor for this. So I just want to say thank you to all those people that took time to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say to, was it Pat? I'd say to that point is, yeah, we always want more public input, especially because, yeah, sure, 166 is not necessarily indicative of, an overwhelming majority. Obviously, we would want more. It's difficult to make a decision, not only based off of public opinion, but thinking about the people you're going to impact.
Right.
I think that they bring up a lot of great points. I understand. I wouldn't want to inconvenience those neighbors that live in that neighborhood, and I also don't want anyone flying through your parking lot. I think that we need to do that, but so it's difficult to take into consideration. I mean, the inconvenience of a neighborhood or the frustrations that could go through that, but then the opportunity that we have before us, and the opportunity to hopefully reduce the accidents and make those intersections a little more safe by removing those lights and hopefully following that will, because I understand whether it's, I think the numbers were something like between 400 and 800 people travel on West 3rd, whereas, 15,000 travel Hamilton Boulevard. And I think if we want to improve safety and efficiency, I think these are steps in the right direction, but change is really difficult. Changing behavior is difficult.
Okay, no one else be heard? Time to vote. Once you get all those electric cars, we won't worry about the gas.
Hey, there you go. Be my hope.
It passes 3-2. Moore and Scott vote no. 18 is a motion authorizing staff to remove the traffic signals at Hamilton Boulevard and West 8th Street. I'll move it.
Second.
Anyone to be heard? Seeing none. Passes 5-0. 19 is a motion authorizing staff to remove traffic signals at Hamilton Boulevard and West 22nd Street. I'll move that.
Second.
I still struggle that line of sight's better than West 3rd. I don't care what you tell me.
On West 22nd?
Well, because at least you've got an open view on West 3rd. You've got that dang wall
Yeah.
on West
No, I agree.
22nd, and you can tell me all you want to, but
Well, you can.
I tried to get out of that the other day, and I'm telling you what, it's not as easy as
looked at it.
what these engineers want to tell you. I can promise you that.
You're talking about going left, taking a left hand?
Yeah, because that wall
Looking
sticks
past
out.
that
Even
wall.
going right, you got to be careful, but
Retaining wall thing right there.
and somebody jumps out of that Walgreens parking lot when you're trying to get out, guess what?
And they come down
Yeah, but
quick.
That's something we didn't hear about, is the left hand into Walgreens that was removed.
it
off
was,
of Hamilton.
it wasn't removed.
They're-
Yeah.
There's a
Left hand
sign there. Yeah,
going
you can't
south.
turn left there anymore, heading south. That was part of this too.
Because
You have to go
traffic is
light.
really backing up in the
There's no,
inside.
they should have been made to put a left turn lane. in.
Right, and there isn't one there.
Yeah.
So you're just stopping in the left-hand traffic to make a left up into that parking lot.
There were
Now
double
it's
crashes related.
Prohibited. Now, is that going to be permanently, change that median there so they can't turn?
We're just gonna leave it marked as a no left turn into Walgreens there. It's an illegal left turn if they turn into there.
But you haven't closed it?
No, because it's not that we closed the it's just that it should have had a left turn lane. I don't know why when Walgreens was built, they weren't required to.
There's not really room for one there, though. is
Yeah,
there?
that median's wide enough, it could have accommodated it. They just weren't made to modify.
Well, I'd like to see it blocked so they can't turn it, like put the curb there.
Good.
I think that, because I think people are still going to
Good
do it.
luck. I think that when that got built, we approved those plans because some engineer came up with it. Well, and then you're gonna get, I mean, you got a hard time closing an entrance to a business after you've allowed it and you signed off on it. I'm not practicing
Well,
law
maybe
here,
we can
but
check into
good luck with that case
there.
against the Walgreens attorneys.
Can we check to see if we have an agreement with that?
I
Yeah.
guarantee you we did. We were here, weren't you? Weren't you here when we did Walgreens? I don't know, maybe
I don't know if that was in the
well,
last
I-
8 years or not.
I
Was
don't
it,
know,
Dave?
but I can tell you one thing.
I read the staff report and then we can talk about that another time.
Okay.
Well, Hannah, Mark, I really appreciate your time and everything that went into this. I'm not envious of being able to read through the comments nor put up with a presentation here. I mean, I think it's difficult, but you handled yourself well, so I appreciate everything.
The things that I've asked for, I still want.
Yep, we'll get those to you.
Okay.
So thank you.
Sometimes you have a history
Thanks to Simcoe, too,
not
for their
remembering
involvement.
those sort of things.
I'm pretty good about that.
Uh-huh. Can hardly wait. Let's get done.
All right, Reagan and Grace, here we go.
Grace.
Did I announce
What a
that vote?
breath of fresh air.
The real, yeah.
We didn't expect that tonight.
Okay. The last vote was 4-1. I voted no.
Reagan Cody with Downtown Partners, and tonight I have with me Grace Nordquist. She's our Business Development Coordinator. How do I just switch the screen on here? Oh, there I am. And here I go.
Michelle?
Wonderful. Might play video later, so that might get ugly. Thank you again for having us tonight. Just to remind you, the last time we were back here was in December of 2019. So we wanted to make sure we got back here before Pete left us. Our board members are not able to be present tonight except for Alex and Julie, which of course you are here this evening. But we have a
We
great
get paid
board.
the big bucks to make sure we're here.
All right, thank you for that.
Present, always.
We have a great board right now. Jason Allen, he works with the Sioux City Police Department and is also with Cripple Creek Investments. He is our current president. Alexia Boggs with Ho Chunk Capital is our VP, and Chris Jackson remains as our treasurer. We had a good addition this year, I believe, with Jeff Carlson with Remax Preferred. He's helped us quite a bit, and I think he'll be a great addition to the board. I'm not going to go through the last 2 years of what we've done. I've given you the annual report from last year just to kind of recap. This is something we do every January, so you'll see these numbers updated and probably adding a couple different areas on here. You know, this year we probably didn't host as many Zoom hours as we did in 2020, but that was a good piece for our stakeholders to see and let them know what we've been working on. So this piece will be redone every year. Just a quick look at our budget, real brief. 45% of our budget is for projects and business support, and only 8% for events, 11% for marketing, and 30% for operations and personnel. So we feel we do a very good job with the budget and making sure that our businesses and our projects are well represented financially. As you're aware, wayfinding is finally installed. I don't know if anyone's more excited about this than I am, but it is it is done, including the 3 kiosks, which you don't see here on historic 4th Street. Our kiosks were 3 pieces that match our vehicular and our pedestrian wayfinding. Because of the historic 4th Street area doesn't have any light posts or anything like that, we did do something a little unique in that area. What we like about this too is that it does have how many minutes it takes you to walk somewhere, not how long it takes you to drive. So we are encouraging people to get out and walk our downtown, and that shows you that from historic 4th, you can get to areas of town very easily and very quickly. Lighting is another large project of ours. That's in quite a phased process. There's a couple things that we've been looking at. The first of which you all know is the festoon lights, or people call them party lights, on historic 4th and Court, and then at 4th and Pearl. Those are complete. We are into phase 2, which we are looking at the artistic lighting pieces underneath the skywalks. Those are colored LED lights that can be programmed to different times of year and different colors. So we're looking at that project, and also to display a lighting piece and hopefully an interactive piece within the Pearl Street Park District to connect all of that. Moving forward are much larger projects that will need more with an infrastructure background to them, is things with the decorative lamp heads and the historic posts along our streets to connect everything and make sure we are connecting well lighting-wise to the riverfront project, which is a big piece. So more to come on that. Just so you guys are aware, we had our storefront and startups grant. We still have that. It provides all businesses and facades within downtown to apply for up to $2,500 of improvement to their storefront. We had 16 projects take part in this. We awarded a total of $35,000, almost $36,000 in those projects, but the total project costs were over $110,000 for our storefronts. So the properties and businesses did invest, and we were happy to be able to help them do that. Another piece that came with this and our grant, just to tie the two together, one of the things we looked at with the police department and city staff as we meet with them quarterly for downtown safety and security We produced a resource guide, or the PD produced a resource guide that we then dispersed out to downtown partners, stakeholders, and residents in downtown. This helps them understand how to maybe deal with some of the homelessness, or if they have questions, who to directly go to, and gives them the resources they need to address anything that they might see or do. The lighting and cameras is put into our storefront grant. So we made sure to put, if a business or a property was interested in getting extra security on their property, the grant can be used for those items. Then we have the skywalk mapping. Another piece that we understood was within the skywalk, it can get very confusing, if any of you have been up there. And sometimes when someone is in distress, it's easy for them to not know where they are located in the skywalk. So by identifying the skywalk via color coding within 200 decals that are on the walls, and we have also identified the doors, we've numbered them, so that when dispatch does it a call for they're in skywalk orange, that they're able to see which doors can quickly access the skywalk system. The next, I would love to be able to play this video. I hope it works. But we have an Experience Downtown series that I'll give to Grace.
So we started a couple of video series here in the last year. The first one was actually our residential living video series. So as we have all these new residential units appearing in downtown, we decided to do a video series in which people could explore those on our website through those videos. We also started this Experience Downtown video series, which experiences lots of different things in downtown, and we have 2 more in this video series before it's completed. So we will show you dining and drinks.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a surprise. You'll have to go look.
This is going to be a good test of our sound equipment, so bear with me just a moment.
All these videos can be found on our website, downtownsiouxcity.com, as well.
A lot of pictures of Alex in this, I bet.
Try to support.
Booty Alex.
When it comes to savory bites, sweet treats, or the very best on tap, downtown Sioux City is where it's at. Experience more than 60 dining and drink options to satisfy your cravings and quench your thirst, including options nestled on historic Fourth and historic Pearl. From Thai to Italian, local eateries to famous chains, dine-in, delivery, and pickup, downtown is the perfect place to bring the family or make a reservation for 2.
I'd say food culture over the last year in Sioux City, just like every other community, has really struggled with COVID and forced shutdowns. But Sioux City is so resilient, and local websites like Siouxland Local Eats have allowed people to really pump up and feature some of the local fairs we have here in Sioux City that might have gone unnoticed otherwise. So I'd say the impact of food culture has really driven tourism. It's really driven innovation in downtown, and pairing that with all redevelopment with our hotels and businesses moving back into downtown, it's really creating a scene. It's really creating a vibrant area for people to live and work.
Discover a unique blend of all things delicious, waiting for you downtown. For more information on downtown dining and drinks, visit downtownsiouxcity.com.
Awesome. So that is one example of some of those videos. So if you want to check out all of them, they are on our website, like I mentioned, downtownsiouxcity.com. Up next, we have our social media data from the last year. So the graph you can see up there is from 2020. You'll notice a spike in increase. This is for our audience growth, so our followers on social media. You'll notice a spike in March to April. That is right around kind of the head of the pandemic. So when we released our resilience toolkit, we gained a lot of followers during that time, and people found that really useful. And then in November and December as well, during the holiday season, we get really busy with the parade and all that good stuff. And then in 2021, you can see our audience growth is up 13% on social media, and engagements and impressions, which just means people are seeing our posts, they're liking them, engaging with them. And then our video views, since we've never done videos before, we're up 3,000%, which is exciting to see.
Pretty impressive when you go from nothing.
And then with our busy November, December days, we have some events coming for the holidays. Next week, Monday, November 22nd, is our Downtown Holiday Lighted Parade, sponsored by IBEW Local 231. So lots of fun events going on that night. We're excited to see that coming up.
Hardly wait.
Yep.
The trolley's ready for you.
One of my favorites.
Yes, and we've had an awesome
we're on the
turnout
trolley?
already.
You get the trolley, yes, of course.
Will we have music? Can you make sure we have music on the trolley so we can sing?
So you
Won't you
can
dig out
sing.
one of your
Are you
old
sure about that?
Karaoke.
The karaoke trolley is what we're going to be calling it now, Dan.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're
I just
fine.
want to have music on the trolley.
Yes.
Can you arrange that for me?
I will make sure there's.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you.
Sold one of them.
And then new this season, we have our holiday storefront decorating competition. So you might have noticed some storefronts downtown with some decorations in it. We invited nonprofit organizations to come decorate vacant spaces in downtown for this season, and then also our local downtown businesses to participate as well. And thanks to our sponsors at Remax Preferred, there is a $500 award for the top place, and that is voted on by the community. And that does start next week as well. So if you're driving around for the parade, you can vote on our website, and there'll be a map showing where all those are located at. So excited for that to begin this year. And then throughout the holiday season, we want to encourage everyone to support local businesses this holiday season. One way we're doing that is through our small business bingo again. So if you stop by a local business, you can have an employee sign that space on your card, and then each bingo, you're entered for a chance to win prizes, which are also from downtown businesses. And then finally, we have our 12 days of giveaways on social media, starting December 1st through the 12th, where we'll be giving away prizes to local, places in downtown again. And so be sure to follow us on our social media accounts if you don't already. And then with that, if you need any other information, it's on our website, or to stay up to date on all events each week in downtown, you can sign up for our weekly e-blast also on our website. And those are the updates I have.
Thanks, Grace. Keeping it short, moving in next, we've got a couple studies and a couple plans that we're waiting for and to help with our planning. In January is usually when our board does their retreat. So we've got the infrastructure master plan, which you all are aware of, the pedestrian study, a bike facility study, and then the tourism and marketing. All of those kind of overlap to see what our projects over the next 3 to 5 years will look at entailing. We are also working on recruitment packages, getting small businesses into downtown. Small businesses, I believe, are the way that downtown is moving, so we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity and looking at new businesses to join us in downtown. Also along that is our storefronts and our facades, making sure that those programs and projects are actually something that property owners and businesses can utilize, and we're giving them everything that we've got. If there is anyone always interested in helping in downtown, we have 3 work groups that are community-based. You don't have to be a business or a property owner in downtown to join these groups. Each group is roughly 30 to 40 people strong. They meet monthly, and they work on those types of goals for downtown Sioux City. So any information on that can be visited at our downtownssioux.com website or email us at info@downtownssioux.city. And that's all we've got. Under 10 minutes?
Couple of comments.
Yes.
If I may, of
Please.
course. Well, two words come to the top when I hear your presentation from Downtown Partners, and that's quality and excellence.
Thanks, Dan.
Everything you've done has been excellent, Grace and Reagan, and I appreciate that. So, and I've been off the board, and I think you meant to say that the board continues to be great.
Absolutely.
I think that's what you really meant to say.
That's exactly what thank you.
But what I wanted to ask you about, and I'm glad Ann Westrip is here, and I've been out of touch because I haven't been on the board. Alex and Julie are doing a great job on that. But with those videos that you talked about, Grace, that would be really cool if we could get those on the 3 television stations, because we have all seen Lamar's video. It's outstanding. We've all seen the Ottawa video, outstanding. And I think Cherokee put one out, but I'm not positive of that one. And there might be others that that aren't coming to mind. But if we could somehow get those on our, I appreciate that you're on your website, of course, but if we could get those on the 3 television stations, I think.
That's a great point.
Yeah, well, that video is so well done, and if you watch Lamar's, they just really have one that's just top notch, as does. Isn't it Ottawa that has the widest main street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you remember that.
I do.
So be thinking about that. I don't know what the.
It's also where the Klondike bar, wasn't it, started?
Oh, was it in Ottawa? Okay.
Isn't that right?
You'd think I'd know that.
And I don't know what the
know.
fees would be or the cost would be on that, but it's just something to please.
I agree. We have
please-
one more video left for experience. It's the events video. So once the package is complete, these were funded through Simcoe's CARE Act funds that they're managing. So those videos, once they're all complete, is just going to be a matter of how we deliver all of them at once. I mean, even airport monitors, things like that, that we can help people see what's in downtown would be great.
Okay. And then on the signage, my only comment there is, and I'm sure you've done this, but I'm real big on maintenance. And I hope you have a maintenance fund. I don't know where that would come from, how that's going to work, but please don't let those wonderful, lovely signs get torn up or beat up, and we just let them go because we've moved on to some. I think maintenance is so important. I preach that about Cone Park. Any facility we build, anything we put up, we have to make sure we maintain it.
Should have a visual inspection of them every year and touch up what needs to be touched up before it does get out of control.
And we do maintain a wayfinding budget. It's still a line item on our budget, so there's $5,000 a year to make sure that those maps are up to date and also anything that comes into play with those.
Perfect.
Yep.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. We miss you, Dan. And Pete, we're going to miss you.
Oh,
Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
You've been a great council member. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job,
Thank you.
ladies.
Thanks.
Pete,
Just one quick acknowledgement and thank you. I attended the Veterans Day event at the Woodbury County Courthouse, sponsored by the Woodbury County Commission on Veterans Affairs, Thursday morning. And I think most of you went to the junior ROTC, but we hadn't been to the Veterans Day in a couple of years, so I thought I'd go over there. And Travis Morgan did a great job with his MC, and the 185th Air Refueling Wing was there. And the guest speaker was Master Chief Sergeant Joe Donovan, former Chief Frisbee's, well, former Chief, yes, Joe Frisbee's son-in-law, did a great job and speaker. And in fact, the Chief's daughter sang the national anthem, and she did a wonderful job. So they did a really nice job of putting it together, and I wanted to let them know that we appreciated all they did to honor our veterans. So, and that's all I have.
Julie.
Same thing. I was one of 3 who attended the junior ROTC program for Vets Day over at Girls Inc. And it was a very inspiring, it was very creative. They had a mask presentation, and the masks were painted by some artists, and it was, the mask was the feeling that the vets had. And we had from a Hannibal Lecter mask to one that was just full-fledged, red, white, and blue flag, and then they each kind of had their meaning stated, this is how I feel, or this is how I felt when I returned home. So that was really eye-opening, and thanks to Girls Inc. for hosting the event when we had Jitters Donuts, and it was a very, very well put together program, so I really appreciated that. It was very emotional. I jumped 6 inches out of my chair the first time the bell rang when they presented the roses. I wasn't expecting that.
real moving, yes.
Yeah. Alex.
I hate to disappoint you, but I got nothing today.
Really? Why would you think that this late hour that would disappoint me?
Yeah, right.
Mr. Moore.
My comments are going to be to Mr. Padmore, and I want to make it clear, once a vote is taken by the council, I'm on board. So this isn't anything other than, I would like to have some follow-up, if I may, unless I get overruled.
Oh, I forgot.
And you can work that out, Mr. Padmore. But on West 4th Street and West 3rd Street, would you just look into and make sure the emergency route comments, that those will be addressed, and that we have a solution, so we're not trying to figure it out later? Just check that out, if you'd follow up on the emergency route. And then the other thing is, anything we can do with active generations, so that that's not a continual problem. And I get it, that it's a business, and it's this and that, but we're causing something here, and I'd like to just follow up and try to find a solution to the problem, if we could, okay? Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
I need to come back just for a moment. I was tagged several different times on the art sculpture that was removed from outside of City Hall.
That was not at the direction of the council,
But
but
yes.
go ahead with
and
your
we
story.
do want to clarify that, I don't know if it was a misquote or miscommunication, someone misspoke, I'm not sure what it was, but we've all checked with one another, and it was not direction of city council to take it down for any reason. First and foremost, it's an art sculpture that was being utilized for underprivileged people who needed coats, mittens, whatever was hung on it, and we're all for that, that's great. It was removed for the purpose of repair, and as soon as the repair is done, it will be returned to its home. So there was no ill feeling about it, there was no let's get rid of it, you know, any of those kind of comments, and I promised on social media that I would follow up on it, which I did immediately with Mr. Padmore that very same day, and it will be coming back. They just want to get it spiffed up because it is a piece of artwork is what it was intended for in the beginning. So they just want it to be in good repair.
Julie, intended for coats and
Yep, intended for just coats, scarves, maybe a hat, but not for high-heeled shoes, and don't leave boxes there, things like that. Let's keep it for what it's for and, you know, what's safe. It's not safe to have boxes dumped there and people rummaging through them, you know.
If you have boxes, bring them to a
Yep, you
shelter.
have the boxes, right, take
Local
it to a shelter, et cetera,
Goodwill.
but really, it really is, there's no underlying reason for removing it other than repair, let's get it fixed up, let's make it look good again, let's respect the artists, and that's all part of it. To Mr. Moore's point, he can't stand it when something's not maintained. So, just to clarify.
Was that intentionally damaged?
No, 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 it was
just
just getting
some rust.
rusty and a couple of the hooks were missing, so I think they were sharp and they just wanted to spruce it up.
Ann is
It was Eskimo Pie, Pete, I stand for,
Eskimo pie.
Eskimo
in Ottawa, Iowa. I move we adjourn.
second.
I may have some of those in the freezer.
Shaner next week.
Shaner. Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Gretkin.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Dan, you want to take this from me if you don't mind?